Now let's give a big dark reading welcome to our next guest, who is Alon Leviev. He's at Black Hat this year, presenting his research titled, which is really one of my favorite titles, from Windows Downgrade, Downgrade attacks using Windows updates. He says his work, quote, effectively renders the term fully patched meaningless across any Windows machine worldwide. Alon, that is a bold statement. Welcome.
Well, thank you.
So can you, let's get our mic a little closer. I want to make sure I can hear you. Great. Can you tell us a little bit about, first of all, Windows Downgrade is a great title. How did you get into this work and why did you decide to start this?
Yeah. So one of my main motivations was when I first read about the Black Lotus UEFI bootkit, which was an in-the-wild, very dangerous malware that was able to bypass secure boot, which is a very important security feature, where a lot of other security features rely on this security feature. And I saw that Black Lotus was able to bypass this secure boot feature on a fully updated Windows 11 machine, but it wasn't a new zero-day vulnerability. Instead, what they exploited was an old vulnerability which was already fixed. And that caught my attention, and I liked this idea that you can exploit already fixed vulnerabilities. And while Microsoft patched downgrade attacks on secure boot, my motivation was to find if other components, other than secure boot, may have been overlooked, and maybe there are other areas that are important that may be affected and vulnerable to downgrade attacks as well.
So you were looking, explain just again, you were looking at a patched vulnerability and realized that it was not in fact fully patched.
No, so I looked at a fully patched vulnerability that was Black Lotus exploited an already patched vulnerability, but they downgraded to this old version and vulnerable version, and then they patched it. And Microsoft actually fully patched this behavior on secure boot, but other areas I thought may also be vulnerable to this similar type of attack, just on another component.
Now, is this a Windows-specific and Microsoft-specific problem, or is this something that's common across the ecosystem?
So this research specifically targets Microsoft Windows, but the idea of downgrade attacks on software and an operating system can be employed potentially on other operating systems such as Linux or Mac OS. So I would say that may be a good area of research in the future to look for. Maybe in other operating systems the implications may be similar.
Interesting. So what is it that enterprise security teams should learn from this? What are you hoping the takeaway is?
So I think one of the biggest takeaways and the most important takeaway is that we should raise our awareness towards OS downgrade attacks and the danger that they pose. So I found no mitigation that prevents the downgrade of critical operating system components on Windows, and this suggests that downgrade attacks were not a focal point prior to my research. So I'd say that we should look for, we should consider downgrade attacks as a dangerous attack, and we should always try to see if other operating systems and areas may also be affected by a downgrade attack.
Are attackers aware of this loophole? Are they looking for this sort of thing, or is this something that you stumbled upon and hope to correct before attackers get word that this is available?
So attackers were aware, and generally downgrade is not a new concept. So attackers were aware of the downgrade concept, and they employed it against secure boot. But in my area of research, which is the virtualization stack and other areas of Windows, as far as we are aware, attackers are not aware of it or actively exploiting it. So we disclosed it before attackers were able to get a hold on this vulnerability.
What's the fix?
So anything related to, we obviously responsibly disclosed everything to Microsoft around February 2024, and they issued 2 CVEs, and they required us to direct any questions regarding their remediation plan directly to Microsoft.
And was Microsoft receptive and all of the remediations have been
yeah, so we actually thank Microsoft for their great cooperation, so we're very responsive, and it was great.
What do you say about a lot of the concerns about Microsoft in the enterprise space for security? Do you feel that in your interactions with them that they are actively working with the security community? I mean, did you feel that your interactions with them were productive and quick and speedy?
So for me, I didn't have any issues in communication with Microsoft. They were very responsive. So there weren't many issues. So for me, there were no issues in communications, and as I said, I appreciate the work with Microsoft on these cases.
So what again should, first of all, where can our audience find out more about this research?
So they can find out more in Black Hat and DEF CON, and also in our blog, in Sagebridge's blog. We uploaded a blog that describes most of the vulnerabilities that I have presented, so they can find about in our blog.
And talk to me about what are you going to continue this work? Are you going to expand this research?
So I may look for other components in the future, other components that may be vulnerable to the same type of downgrades within Windows. And afterwards, after I'll see if other components in Windows are if they're vulnerable or not, I may expand to other areas, other operating systems, such as macOS or Linux. As I said, it's really interesting for me to see how in these operating systems, downgrade attacks, if downgrade attacks work, and how would the implications look like.
Are attackers more attuned to the operating system generally as an attack surface? Are operating systems, are they attracting more attention from adversaries, do you think?
So yeah, I don't know if the attention is increasing over the last few years, but I definitely think that attackers focus on vulnerabilities in operating systems, not necessarily in third-party software. I think operating systems are complex, which means that it's a good area to look for new vulnerabilities and new attack surfaces and new flaws.
Okay. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Alon. I really appreciate it. Can you give us any other thoughts of what you've seen here at Black Hat that you recommend to our viewers to check out besides your briefing?
Yeah, so I've seen that there is an interesting talk about secure boot from a Microsoft researcher that he will discuss mitigating and the attack surface on secure boot. And this area was something that I was looking at when I started my research, so that's something that I would recommend watching.
Wonderful. Thank you again.
Thank you.
Alon Leviev, who is with Akamai. I appreciate you so much for joining us.
Thank you.